It was violent. We haven't seen that kind of violence in Ghana. What went on in Kumasi.
Really?
But the question whether my father knew was at that time, Kumasi was more or less an NLM district.
Mm-hmm.
But in 1956 election, they had dared Kwame Nkrumah if you could come to Kumasi for the election. In the meantime, the CPP were having election in Sobin Valley, where they advised Asante New Town, where the NLM warriors were, and then the other side of Kumasi. We were called in, I was called to get some of the boys, and our briefing was that Kwame Nkrumah was going to come by train. Because I think the NLM suspected that he was going to come by road. So they have set up ambushes from the town from Apedra, where they will stop the convoy and kill him.
Apedra in the eastern region?
Yes. Apedra in the east. So if you are going by road, you go through Apedra.
Definitely.
And kill Kwame Nkrumah. But I think the intelligence picked it up. So they made him come to Kumasi by train. So that eluded the plans they had to execute him. But in Kumasi, our job was that when the train arrived, we were to form a ring. Protection ring around Kwame Nkrumah.
At this time, you still hadn't gone to secondary school?
No, I must have been about 12, 13. I hadn't gone yet. We were to form the bodyguard and walk him. The railway station and Subin Valley was not.
Oh, yeah, next door, yeah.
So walked, formed a ring around him, protected him until he got onto the stage. And when they announced his arrival in Kumasi, the whole place went agog. The NLM warriors who were on a hill waiting for fire their gunshots, they were shocked and they ran off. Our job completed. On his return to Accra, they had a feeling that he was going to take a train from Accra, Kumasi, back to Accra. And this time, they changed the plan. He took from Kumasi to Takoradi. So people they put in the train maybe to lynch him, he wasn't on Accra-bound train, he was in Takoradi-bound. He got to Honey Valley, then he joined the Accra-bound one. So he still evaded the NLM group. And as a result, CPP was able to capture, Kumasi had only 4 seats. It captured 2, and NLM got 2.
You must have been conscious of the political environment.
Certainly I was.
Mm-hmm. What were your own experiences with the Nkrumah government at the time?
Well, we had not achieved independence yet.
Okay.
I knew that there was an election in 1954, and instead of another 4 years, which would have taken us in 58, we were to get our independence around about 55, 56. But I think what we learned was that the last election was said that Nkrumah didn't win from geographical. He won the south and some areas up, middle, and then the north. So if Nkrumah wanted an independence, then they should go back to elections, which I think the CPP protested because it wasn't fair. Because in the British system, it's 4 years, 4 years. But after 2 years, they shouldn't go back to another election. But because Nkrumah wanted election, and the NLM wanted a federation that was, their cause Matin Meho free, Gokus, Nyankwaya Idia. So, because at that time, Ashanti region was perceived to be the richest in the country. Later we know that Western region had everything Ashanti region had in triples, but it had not been explored. But this went on until independence came. And even after independence, the first 2 years, NLM was still very violent and strong in Kumasi.
His footprint with Wing Commander Sogbodjor. So, Commander, you you finished, completed your training in Italy. And in Italy, how many Ghanaians? 12. All of you
12.
came back?
Yes, we did.
And you met other people from other African countries?
I'll tell the
program?
truth. We were the first Africans south of the Sahara to fly jet fighters.
Oh, really? And you were all
Ghana.
males?
Yes, all males. Fighter training is not easy, but it's not because of that. We're all male, and we're first south of the Sahara.
Oh, there were no Nigerians there?
No, we got jet fighters before Nigeria.
Oh, I see.
Yes. We got
Wow.
fighters before Nigeria.
So you were the first?
The first south of the Sahara.
And in Ghana, you were the first batch?
The first batch on fighter planes.
Wow.
There were other made pilots, but mostly transport and
logistics,
helicopter
yes.
logistics. But we, the first batch in fighter squadron.
Then you were wild guys. The men about town.
Yes, we're strong.
Then
But
when
the training is extremely difficult.
So when you came back to Ghana, which year would this be?
We came in, as a matter of fact, towards the end of 1965, we had not finished our fighter training. But there were two pilots who had been made here already who were sent up. And the OAU meeting was coming up. And Nkrumah was determined to show the rest of African countries that Ghana has got fighter planes. So they were brought down. They were brought down before we came. And what they did was doing escort duties. When the planes, if a head of state is coming, if you're coming from the eastern side, maybe they will meet you around that area and fly close up with you until you landed. And once the plane landed, we will just move up and do aerobatics. At that time, maybe the head of state is being escorted to inspect the guard of honor. And by the time he finished, he would have landed and a Land Rover or a 4x4 would have picked us from Nkrumah to introduce us to the other African heads of states.
No, you were wild guys.
And to be honest, a lot of them were surprised.
Yeah.
That in fact, the history, at one time in Italy, I was doing formation flight. That means that you have about 6 airplanes, 3 here and 3 there. And when we landed, they marshal you to come stop. You park your airplane. I think I was the 5th coming in. And when they marshaled me in, and I opened the canopy and took off my bundle, and the guy was marshalling me was an African American. He stared at me. It was like he was seeing a movie. Like a black man flying a jet fighter. So I took off my parachute, I left them there. His duty is to carry them. And I came down the steps. And even though I was walking to the officers' quarters, he turned looking at me. He couldn't believe that an African flew that aircraft. So after a while, I went to the bar to buy a little pizza. And I realized he wanted to talk to me. So I gave him the chance. And he came and said, "Son, where are you from?" I said, "From Ghana." So, where, Ghana? Where Ghana? That's, you mean Nkrumah's country? I said, "Yes." I said, "My, oh my. Where I come from, they wouldn't be allowed to touch an airplane and for you to fly it." You see the way it is. Like, even the Americans were marveled that we're flying.
When you noticed that they had succeeded with the coup, did you guys regret not finishing them?
To be honest, if we knew the reasons behind this coup, as we've all gotten to know through the CIA, official,
Documents, yes.
documents which have come out, then I would have regretted I took part or maybe supported it going. Because I think that had destroyed the path of growth of Ghana.
You say you'd have regretted?
That I took part in it because we didn't know.
But did you take part in the coup?
I didn't take part as a soldier. I was in the air with my fighter plane.
to stop them.
To stop them. And we didn't stop them. We didn't have instruction to stop them.
So you mean you regret that you even allowed them to do what they did?
Yes. After hindsight,
Yeah.
we had come back only about 2-3 months. And the things Ghanaians were complaining about, we didn't see it. I must be honest, that there was no sugar, milk, the rest. It didn't affect me. Went to the officers' mess, I ate. But now I think the whole country has gotten to know that it was CIA propaganda which instigated the coup against Nkrumah.
Mm-hmm. The forces of light will eventually overcome those of darkness, and truth will always prevail over falsehood. This is a moral law which cannot be denied.